Hello, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be running a online teacher CPD session as part of the work that we are doing with Middlesbrough High Street Heritage Action Zone, which is a funded programme through Middlesbrough Council and Historic England. My name is Vicky Holborough. I'm part of Navigator North, and we are delivering on the cultural programme and community engagement strands of the Middlesbrough HSHAZ. So I'm going to take you through, give a little bit of an overview of what the HSHAZ programme is, what it involves, some of the resources that are available with a specific focus on education and learning, and the development of a new resource called Discover Boro, which we hope people will be able to use going forward. So first of all, I'm going to talk very briefly about the historic buildings that we have in Middlesbrough's historic quarter. So through the Middlesbrough HSHAZ, these have been identified. Some of them were identified at being at risk. Others needed some investment in terms of preserving and protecting them. So these are just three of the buildings that are benefiting from some grant support through Middlesbrough HSHAZ to improve their buildings and, like I said, preserve them for the future. So this is an ongoing programme which has another year after this year to go. So we're starting to actually see some of these improvements now, which is really exciting in Middlesbrough. So that's one strand. It's a significant strand with property grants available for those property owners. And the next strand that's associated with those kind of capital developments is the public spaces in Middlesbrough's historic quarter. So we've got on this slide, we've got the big image is of an area called Exchange Square, which has recently had a programme of redevelopment. So that's the images below that show what it looked like before. And the image, the big image above, shows you what it's like now. It's got new planting, it's got new seating, better lighting. It's just generally a lot more usable space, which is great. And we'll come back to talking about this space because we actually hosted one of the school visits and took them to Exchange Square, which was great. There's also going to be some development in another area of the historic quarter called Zetland Road. And as part of our work with community engagement and cultural programme, we'll be sharing some of those developments as they happen over the next year as well. So it's one to keep an eye on. And then on to the cultural programme. That's the lights going off because I'm not moving around. So you have to see me with a glow now. So the cultural programme is a 2-year cultural programme led by Middlesbrough's Cultural Consortium, which is Middlesbrough Cultural Partnership. We've been leading us, Navigator North have been leading on the programme now for the last 18 months. We've got about another 6 months left to go till we reach the end of the programme. The image on the right of your screen captures what we've done in the first year. So it's to reveal some of those hidden stories around Middlesbrough and the Heritage Action Zone through a series of creative commissions, residency. We've got a high street project space, which is called the Masham. We've been doing lots of community engagement as part of the cultural programme, and we've also picked up a project that had gone quiet for a while in Middlesbrough called the Tunnel Gallery. So the image on the other side of your screen shows you, it was formerly a billboard space, which we've kind of taken over for the exploration of public art in Middlesbrough. So the artwork that's on there was commissioned, so we commissioned a local artist who's an illustrator to create a work that responded to heritage in Middlesbrough. So she produced this illustration. So that's like a change in programme of artworks that are brought into the public space in Middlesbrough there. And as you can see from the infographic on the right, we've had 3 residencies, the longest of which was a 12-month residency, which we currently have an exhibition on for in the Masham as the High Street project space to connect the modern high street with the historic high street, really. And as you can see from some of the quotes there, we've had a fantastic response to visitors locals in the town, but also visitors to the town, and being able to experience and be part of the programme. And then on to community engagement. So as I mentioned, the image on the right is taken in Exchange Square. So from January, we've been working with the council to deliver on the HSHAZ community engagement strand, which the Heritage Schools project is part of. So here we've got on the right, we've got an artist, Annie O'Donnell, who was originally a tunnel gallery commissioned artist, working with a group of year fives from Brecon Hill Primary School. We'd taken them on a walk from their school. So the image on the left is a local historian called Morbid, who took them on a guided heritage walk from their school to Exchange Square so that they could better understand the town's history in relation to maybe their own journey to school, their journey from school into town, which is a short walk. And he kind of pointed out to them some really interesting, possibly overlooked heritage sites that they perhaps were not aware of. So together, we spent a day together with that school, and we talked to them about arts and heritage. They worked with experts, they worked with artists, with local historians, and we'll come on to talk a bit more about the Arts Award that we did with them as part of that. So I just wanted to introduce the Heritage Schools programme in terms of the funding that's allowed us to deliver this as a project and this CPD session itself. So as you can see from this slide here, it's been developed in response to the government report on cultural education, and it aims to help school children develop an understanding of their local heritage and its significance, which is something that we found worked as part of the methodology that we applied to deliver this programme, and using the Arts Award was a great way to do that, to connect arts and heritage. So as you can see, the points there, the aim of Heritage Schools, that they develop a sense of pride of where they live, so they understand where they live. They maybe, the thing that we found was great was that these little kind of facts and stories that we were able to share with them, you know, they told us that they would then go home and tell their parents, tell their grandparents, tell their friends. You know, it's kind of that sense of pride and knowledge and knowing something that you want to pass on was really great about the project. We had some fantastic comments from the teachers as well, you know, about kind of how it allowed the children to gain a better understanding of their area, the area that they live in, but also to work with those experts as well. We hope that going forward, these resources that we're producing can be utilised as part of the curriculum, and that families get involved, you know, so it's not just the children from the school, it's that families are involved in this. And when we talk about the next stage of delivery, we actually opened this up to children and their families, so we'll come on to that in a bit. I just wanted to mention the resources that are available through Heritage Schools as well. Why is the lights coming back on? So yeah, there's an excellent newsletter that people can sign up to. We're going to send you, for people who are joining us for this session, we're going to send you a document with all of the links in, but we will put all of these links on the Historic Quarter website as well. So the recent newsletter has been great because it talks about the Aerial Photo Explorer, an amazing collection of photos where you can visit, you know, places that are familiar to you and perhaps places that aren't, and see it from a different perspective, bird's eye perspective, basically. There's collections of images grouped into themes, and there's ready-made classroom resources that you can download, and all of these are free resources, which is brilliant. I wanted to also introduce the resources that we've produced as part of the Middlesbrough HSHAZ. So this just gives you a bit of a snapshot of some of those. These are all artist designed resources. So I thought it'd be quite nice to show you what they look like. And then the majority of these have come through from the Tunnel Gallery commissions, and they actually sit on the Tunnel Gallery website, which is a specific website for that project. And we've got things like collage packs. So the artist that we've worked with as part of this project for Heritage Schools, Annie O'Donnell, she's produced a downloadable collage pack so people can go through the same exercise that we've done here. We've also got illustrations of historic buildings in Middlesbrough by Bethany Hunton that you can print off. Their line drawings so children can colour them in. And then we've got a couple of publications, so we've got a zine, which is a two-sided publication which talks about Boro Red and how the artist has worked with people to try and produce the colour red through making dyes. And then we've got an illustration guide as well from Francis Moffat. So that was the billboard that I showed you on an earlier slide. So they can all be downloaded from the Tunnel Gallery website. Oh, skipped. And the website itself is also a resource because it has virtual galleries that you can visit on there. So if you're not physically able to kind of visit an exhibition, visit an artwork, you can go on and look at these in the classroom. You can have a look at the virtual galleries, which in itself is quite unique, I think, in terms of Middlesbrough has a lot of virtual spaces. So it'd be good to explore some of those with the children. And then my last slide is just to talk about the Historic Quarter website, which has an archive section where you can go in and you can filter through. So whether you're looking for buildings or bridges, those sorts of things, you can apply a keyword and it will bring up the information that's currently on there. There's loads of other information on the website as well about how you can get involved, find out more, what the developments are in kind of public spaces. And we've also got a sign up to our regular newsletter. So that is available either as a PDF, which you can download from the website, or you can sign up as a subscriber and you can get it, you can receive it to your inbox as an email. We also do have printed copies, a limited run of printed copies for every edition. So they can be available, they're available at a number of venues around the town centre. So I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop sharing that and come back into the Zoom. And yeah, sorry, I could have talked about all of that for quite a while, but I think we're doing all right for time, Jane. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Jane. And Jane is going to talk about the Arts Award. Over to you, Jane.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. So I will just share my screen as well. And start from the beginning. It's usually the way that you rehearse it and it's fine. And then when you come to it, it doesn't work. But we just wanted to do an introduction to Arts Award to introduce everyone to what it is, because some people might be aware of it and others won't have heard of it. So I am an Arts Award trainer and moderator, and now doing a bit more advising with Navigator North as part of this programme. And so there's just a few slides to go through. So Arts Award is a nationally recognised qualification, and there's the introductory award, which is the Discover level, which is what we've been doing so far as part of this programme. And it's for all children and young people up to the age of 25. And it's portfolio based, so we tend to talk about Discover and Explore being an arts log and Bronze, Silver, Gold being a portfolio. And it's really looking at developing their arts knowledge and understanding, their arts skills and their connections with the arts that are all around them. So every child and young person wanting to do Arts Award needs an advisor. So that's someone who has been on the training for Arts Award. And then it's externally moderated, and Arts Award is delivered by Trinity College London in partnership with Arts Council England. So there are the 5 levels. So Discover and Explore are the kind of entry level ones. And really it is all about taking part in activities. It's about finding out about what artists do, about arts and cultural organisations. It's about creating work and sharing what you've learnt and enjoyed. It's about having fun in the arts and hopefully experiencing something a bit different to what you already might have experienced previously. And then bronze, silver and gold are the level 1, 2 and 3 awards, and the gold has 16 UCAS points. So that's often quite popular for young people wanting to go to university, but it's not just for those young people at all. You need to be at least 11 at the point of moderation to do bronze, silver or gold. So Discover and Explore is you kind of toes in the water, having a go. Bronze is obviously in a bit more breadth and depth, but it's still really doable and accessible. It's really a framework for arts and cultural activity. And the silver and gold, the young people do need a bit more time and commitment to the award. This is an example of the certificate that they get at the end. So it is a proper qualification through Ofqual and with Trinity College London. So young people, children and young people are usually quite pleased with their certificate at the end. So in terms of delivery, it's delivered in lots of different ways. And this really depends on the needs of the children and young people that you're working with, the setting that you're in and which art forms you're looking at doing. So there is a Discover in a Day model, which is what we've used so far with Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough. People do it in intensive ways. So there's some bronze in a week models, but equally you might do it over a half term, a term, and certainly for silver and gold, you would do it on a bit of a longer term basis, unless you were doing maybe a 3-week summer school or something like that for silver. And so schools do deliver it through the curriculum, so in ordinary lesson time. Sometimes it's done as after school clubs and sometimes it's holiday programs. What it doesn't have to be is a completely separate project and additional things. What lots of people find, particularly at Discover and Explore, is that you're already really doing it, but it's about putting the framework around it. And in terms of the heritage schools work, it's kind of extending that and using what's in your locality and working with local artists. So I mentioned the advisor training earlier, and that all children and young people need an advisor. So that can be, you know, in arts and cultural organisations, practitioners train, staff within schools train to be Arts Award advisors, youth workers. It's as long as you've got experience of working with children and young people. So lots of schools deliver it themselves and have trained advisors. And then some schools work in partnerships with artists and cultural organisations to deliver Arts Award, as has happened with Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough. And training is online with an Arts Award trainer. So there's an interactive session where you'll come together as a group, and then there's some pre and post training modules. So there's quite a lot of options date-wise for you to choose from. So it makes it quite flexible and accessible now. So just move these that way. So there is a cost to that, obviously. So the costs are up here on the slide: 180 for Discover and Explore, £200 for bronze and silver training, and 150 for gold. And then there are group discounts available. There is specialist SEND training, and there is a made to measure training offer. So if you have got a group and you'd like kind of additional support following training, you can look at that made to measure offer. And so for moderation, although that doesn't happen at Discover, but for Explore upwards it does. And there are different options available for that. So there is now online So you might work with one child or young person, and that can be moderated online. You might have a whole class of 30. So either is absolutely fine. You probably would only go for face-to-face standard moderation if you have a largish group, because there's a minimum fee to meet for that. But that's where a moderator comes to your setting at a date and time to suit you. And it's a sampling process that happens with Arts Award. So the moderator doesn't necessarily look at all the portfolios unless there's only a few. So the costs for each level are there. So that's something just to consider if you're thinking about delivering it. And there is a sliding scale with the larger groups receiving discounts. And so that brings us on to funding, which is always the big question, isn't it? So centres do fund Arts Award activity in lots of different ways. Some do fundraising activities, cake bakes and car washes and things like that, activity days. Some schools, and it obviously depends where you're at with parental contributions and carer contributions. Some schools use pupil premium for it. Some are able to embed it into their core funding. We know things are very tight at the minute though. And schools sometimes make charitable funding applications, and that can work quite well if you're working in partnership with an arts or cultural organisation to deliver it, so that you can cover those costs that we've looked at. That obviously doesn't include any costs of artist fees or anything like that. That's just the costs for the certificate or moderation with Arts Award. And that is the end. That's a whistle-stop introduction to Arts Award. So I hope that's helpful just to give a context as to what we're talking about with the programme.
That was great. Thank you for that, Jane. So now we're going to bring all of that together, and we are going to talk about how we've applied that to what we're doing in Middlesbrough. So this is the connection between arts and heritage that we have that we've employed to deliver the Discover Boro Arts Award. So special edition Discover Level Arts Award just for Middlesbrough, which is going to be a resource that's available for anybody to use alongside those resources that we've already introduced. So I will share my screen in a moment. There we go. Am I okay, Jane? Have I got the right page? No, that's the right page. So Jane and I are going to, are you still there, Jane?
Yeah.
Oh, brill.
Yeah.
I thought I'd lost you. So Jane and I are going to chat through the project and what we've done. So I thought I would start off with sharing with you the three ways that we've run this, basically. So we started off, so the one on the front, the one that's coloured in, that is a Discover Arts Award that we developed for use in schools. So this was with Brecon Hill Primary School, who came along, spent a whole day with us, worked with the artist, worked with the historian, worked with us in the High Street project space at the Masham. They each had a specific bespoke logbook. So this is the Arts Award logbook that was for each child. And then what we're going to do in this presentation is talk you through each section and talk about what we did for each section. But like I say, we've tested this and we've run it 3 different ways, basically. So the first version was with a school. So that's that first version there. Then we collaborated with an arts event in Middlesbrough called Middlesbrough Art Weekender. They were keen to develop some activity or deliver some activity for children and their families. And we were working on this project and thought it would be a great opportunity to open it up, not just to the school-age children in Middlesbrough, but as I mentioned, their families who would be coming along to the event. And it really gave them an opportunity to work with more artists, because there was more artists as part of this event, but it also enabled the children to visit the whole festival and all of the artworks and all of the buildings and all of the spaces as part of Middlesbrough Art Weekender. And a lot of the art installations were taking place inside historic buildings. So that was like just a fantastic collaboration that we were able to do to really build on this project and collaborate with that festival. And then we decided that we would run it again as a drop-in. So we were collaborating again with a 2-week arts festival called Discover Middlesbrough, which is an annual 2-week festival that happens in October. And as one of the days of the festival, we offered a drop-in Discover Boro Arts Award using kind of everything that we've learned as part of this project, and again working with some of the artists and bringing in some of the historians to talk about arts and heritage alongside each other, so that the children could find out more about kind of where they live. And actually on that day we had some children from a bit further afield as well, which was quite interesting, because they then got to find out and discover more about Middlesbrough. So that's the 3 different ways that we've run it. So we're going to talk about this resource that's now available to schools and to anyone who wants to use it, actually. So I might bring Jane in to help me talk about this. But just to say, as we move through these slides, this resource is available as a PDF. So we've created it just to be in black ink. So it's easy to photocopy. The illustrations that we've kept in this as a resource are those line drawn illustrations that children can colour in. So even though it's black and white to print, obviously you can add colour and do whatever you want to do with it and just be creative with it, really. Yeah, we've kept the logos on there, obviously, because it's been produced as part of Middlesbrough's High Street Heritage Action Zone, which is that in the corner. It's also been part of Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough and Discover Boro. So the front page is that one there on the left, and then the second page is the one on the right. And as we go through, there's going to be 2 pages on each slide, but these are separate pages within the PDF. Do you want to talk about part A, Jane?
Yep. So for Discover, the first part is about identifying different art forms, because obviously it can be easy, not just for children and young people, but adults as well, to think about Arts Award as being, and the arts as being painting and drawing. And so it's highlighting that all these different art forms exist and all are absolutely fine for Arts Award. And they're all visible if you have a walk around Middlesbrough and see what's around. So they need to kind of circle them, and they can add any more that they can think of as well that they might have seen. So that's a little activity. Sometimes people do this kind of within the school and do like a school arts trail as well to see what they can spot. But obviously as part of the heritage programme, it was about identifying what is in and around Middlesbrough.
And I think if I can just add to that as well, I think the fact that we've got two of the key things that came up in Middlesbrough in particular were around sculpture and architecture. So obviously we were looking at historic buildings and getting the children to look up, really. So particularly when we walk past somewhere like Middlesbrough Town Hall, you know, there's so much kind of architectural sculpture that's on there and figures that they perhaps hadn't really looked at previously. And in Exchange Square, we've got the statue of Henry Balco, who actually features on the back of this logbook as well. So it's just about kind of, yeah, them opening their eyes, really, literally, through it being an I Spy activity, opening their eyes to what's around them.
Thanks, Vicky.
Yeah.
Are you able to move on the?
Yes.
Yeah. So then the next part of part A is about taking part. So it's all about having a go at an arts activity. So obviously with the activities we've been able to offer through the programme, they've had the opportunity to work with different artists, doing collage, doing the drawings with Bethany Hunton, and a range of different things that happened over the Art Weekender with different artists. And so they need to put some sort of evidence of how they've taken part. Photographs are always wonderful for Arts Award, and we had like a little sticky camera so that we could take instant photographs of the children taking part. It's great if they can do a little annotation of what they've been doing. And then they need to, so if they circle then what it was that they've been doing and tell us a little bit about what they did. And so there's just space within the resource to, for them to just tell us a bit more.
Yeah, and I think, well, when we've run this and looked at history, heritage, historic buildings, again, it's kind of how this relates to them becoming aware of those things, and kind of them being creative at the same time. So this taking part is, you know, it's not just learning about kind of history, it's how do you then use that going forward? How do you apply that to your own creativity, which was a key focus for us, working with commissioned artists who had themselves responded to those kind of heritage stories. So it was quite a natural fit for us. And hopefully some of the kind of resources that we've got available from those artists can be used alongside this for schools, whether you're doing Arts Award or just running through the activities actually and kind of taking part. I'll move to the next one.
Then there's just, a little bit more on part A. So identifying the materials or equipment that they used in whichever activity they've done and where they did it. And there's a bit of reflection involved. So it's Arts Award is about the children and young people's voices coming through, and that kind of, what did they enjoy, what did they learn, what did they like the most. It's about their opinions and their thoughts about what they've been doing. They don't have to write loads and loads either. It's not about that. It's just about sharing their voice as part of that.
Yeah, I really like this page because they can draw the things that they've used. So it's like you said, there is a little bit of writing that's involved in something like this, but for them to actually draw with a pencil, a picture of a pencil is quite interesting, isn't it? You know, that they might not have drawn a pencil before, I don't know. But then where did they do it as well? You know, the building or the space. I mean, this could be done outside, it could be done outdoors, it could be done in exchange. You could do the whole activity in Exchange Square, you know, maybe not this time of year, but in warmer weather. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw some young people at the weekend with the draw your materials, and then they also added, like, they were doing collage as their main piece, but they also added a little bit of collage, like a mini collage into their
they did
into there as well. So that was really nice. Can you go back one? Sorry, Vicky. I'll just talk about part B.
Sorry, I skipped.
All right, it's all right. So part B is all about finding out about being an artist, basically. And so obviously the children and young people who worked with us as part of the programme were able to interview and speak to the artists that they were working with, which is just a fantastic opportunity. And so within the resource, this leaves it open so that if you do have that opportunity, that's fantastic, but it also could be online research. So through some of the links that Vicky will be sending through, there's opportunity for that to do online research, but it might be face to face. So just, it's a toe in the water about, actually, people do this as a living, and how do you get into it, and what's exciting about being an artist, and what do they love most about being an artist in any of those art forms. So that's a really nice section. we think.
It's quite interesting what the children remember. If they have spoken to an artist, what they remember from that conversation. So the most recent day that we've delivered this was as part of the Discover Middlesbrough Festival. And some of the children that took part with us were kind of coming back with feedback that if you're an artist, you can do whatever you want, which I just thought was lovely.
Yeah, freedom came up a lot, didn't it? The freedom. Yeah. And then the final bit of Discover is about sharing with someone else what you most enjoyed and what you learned. And then having evidence of that in the arts log. So we've tried to make it straightforward again so that they're not kind of writing lots and lots of things, so they can circle the things that they enjoyed the most. They might do a bit of writing with what have you learnt, but they also might do a drawing again. They might put something in like that and have some creative evidence. And then what we think is quite important around what are you proud of, and acknowledging that they should be proud of the work that they've created. And in what we've done on the different days that have been happening is largely they've shared this with the artist. So that's been quite a nice exchange then, as wrapping it up, really. Yeah. So this back page is just putting in who they've learned and enjoyed it with, and then maybe getting that person to make some comments about what they've shared with them. Again, it might be an annotated photograph if that works for you. In a school setting, it might be that you invite parents and carers in for a sharing, and so you're showing off the arts logs and the artwork that's been created, and parents and carers can then come and write some comments in the back. And then there's the congratulations page with Henry there to colour in.
Yep. So that's I'm going to stop sharing that just there. Obviously we've got the funders logos and the contributors logos on the bottom, just to acknowledge kind of who has designed this as a resource. So at that point, that's our presentation on the Middlesbrough High Street Heritage Action Zone Heritage Schools project and the resources that are available through the Historic Quarter website and Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough. So hopefully going forward, it'd be great if anybody wanted to share any projects that they've used that have utilised those resources, and we'd ask you to get in touch with, send us an email, and we can share them as well. We can share the projects and the work that the children have done. So yeah, if you get in touch with us through the Historic Quarter website, and then we're hoping to build a gallery actually of children's work on there, based on this work and possibly going forward. So it's an ever growing resource in itself. So thank you very much, and we hope you found that useful.